Oh, I didn't have my new intro and outro in there. Hey, y'all. Lisa Davis here, the trusted banker. And today we want to talk about HUD's proposed changes to affordable housing. You know, what Scott Turner proposed at the hearing. I'll give you my thoughts about it. Want to know your thoughts about it. First, I want to say, if you like this channel, like, share, subscribe. It's a great way to support the channel as I grow it. Because I am working hard. No, but I am trying to grow it. So like, share, subscribe. So let's look at the documentation. So yesterday, Scott Turner, who is the director of HUD, Housing and Urban Development for the United States, had a Senate hearing about his new act, the Road to Housing Act, comprehensive legislation to make targeted reforms across all sectors. So here is where I'm having a problem with all the things that these people are doing. It's just really hitting home at this point because all the government programs are for people without money, people without access, people without ability, people with disabilities. Like, a lot of these programs are for people without opportunities. And they're just literally slashing them and tearing them all up. And it just really bothers me. It bothers me because it's not for the wealthy. And the wealthy don't understand. Unless you've really been in the trenches, like I've been working in housing and small business development for like 25 years. Unless you've really been in the trenches and understand what people go through, it's easy for you to sit at a table and just slash all the things. So we're going to go through. I'm not going to read his opening remarks. I could care less about his good mornings and all the things he wanted to say nice to the committee. I want to read to you what he's proposing, the proposal that he put forth as far as the cuts that HUD is going to do, or that he's proposing HUD should do with his new act. So let me pull that up for you right quick. Okay, so this is what he proposed yesterday. This is basically what the Road to Housing Act, renewing opportunity in the American dream. So Title I, improving financial literacy. This one I kind of agree with. I worked with the FDIC many years to get them to kind of do something similar to this, which is to reform housing counseling and financial literacy programs. This requires housing counseling assistance to the Department of Housing and Urban Development to be distributed in a geographically diverse manner to appropriately consider organizations serving rural and urban areas, and requires assistance to be prioritized for organizations serving areas with the highest foreclosure rates. That's interesting. So one of the things, this is where the data comes in, and that's a very interesting thing to say, because again, 20 plus years doing housing, and the data has shown consistently throughout the years that low income people that have to go through housing counseling and financial literacy in order to qualify to purchase a home and get down payment assistance are the least likely to have first payment default or any payment default, and also were the lowest percentages of the people that lost their home during the mortgage meltdown, meaning they're stabilized. Right. So when I see things like this, and I understand how the government works because I've worked with these government programs, it just draws me on high alert. The first thing that alerted me was serving rural and urban. So it's interesting that we're going to go rural and urban when you put those things first and rural is first. A couple of reasons. Rural has the USDA, Rural and Agricultural Development. So rural areas have two opportunities. They have HUD, but they also have the USDA, and they have the veterans, right? So rural areas are already get 100% financing plus down payment assistance. So it's interesting to see something like that. And then I'm going to wonder when you say the highest foreclosure rates, with these government layoffs, if this doesn't get reversed, we're going to have some high foreclosure rates. So what are you saying? We're going to have very high foreclosure rates. And you're always going to have more foreclosure rates in a population that's highly dense, right? The density is very high versus in rural areas where it's more people live 20 miles apart, right? You've got like millions and millions of people in Chicago and New York living in one city closely. So you're going to have more foreclosures there. So this is interesting. This is very interesting because housing counseling and those financial literacy programs allow you to get $5,000, $10,000, $25,000, and $45,000 in down payment assistance. So it's interesting that you're saying that you want to prioritize organizations serving areas with the highest foreclosure rates. That's interesting. Interesting. The one thing that I do agree with is that they want to update HUD's requirement that housing counselors demonstrate their competence through a one-time examination by creating an ongoing review process where housing counselors working with the federal administration, FHA borrowers, are compared to their peers in the areas they serve. That's interesting words too. The factors set by HUD. Interesting words. So the one thing I do agree about this is that they're saying in here, where was it? Provides HUD authority to retest counselor or suspend certification. That part. I've been working with the FDIC for years to get them to make housing counseling agencies learn underwriting guidelines so that you're not just helping people understand how to budget, how to understand their wants versus their needs, but you're also helping them to understand what lenders are looking for, because we need them to understand what the lenders are looking for so that they understand how to be approvable and bankable, right? And some housing counseling agencies, because their education was so long ago and HUD hasn't really updated it, they really don't even know what lenders are looking for. And they guide them towards just the financial literacy part and things like that. So I do agree with that. Increase access to housing. So rental assistance demonstration program eliminates the cap on the number of public housing units that may be coveted under the rental assistance demonstration to allow for other forms of federal assistance to provide opportunities for private investment. And I don't like when private investment comes in that is currently unavailable for public housing. Private investment does not want to invest in public housing. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when you look at the data sheet, a lot of them are tax credit. A lot of them are tax credit developments where there's not a lot of profitability. And then, so there's not a lot of profitability. So private investment looks at those deals. We've had private developers try to come in and develop and invest in affordable housing units or develop them, and they just couldn't see the opportunity to make their profit, to hit their profit margin. And so they always walk away. I've worked with several multimillionaires that have private investment firms that try to get into low-income housing development. On paper, there's no profit margin. So they don't like to invest in that. So I don't like the private investment. I'm wondering what that will be or what it'll look like. And then who would determine how the housing would be developed, depending on who the private investor was. It's just interesting. Section 202, loan originator compensation, direct the Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection to update Reg Z and increase flexibilities for loan originator compensation to encourage origination of small dollar mortgages under $70,000. That's going back to subprime lending. First off, it's very difficult to find houses under $70,000. It may be in the rural areas. It's definitely not in major urban cities, but they want to update Reg Z so that loan officers can charge more. That's how we got to the mortgage meltdown, because there was no reg around how much lenders could charge. And that's not necessary, because mostly banks that service HUD financing, because brokers can't really use the voucher income as far as home ownership purchase income. So a lot of brokers don't have that capability. So most of the times it's banks, and banks put their lenders that do this work on salaries. There's no reason, 100% no reason for them to try to update Reg Z to make sure that originators can make more money on these deals, because smaller. So that's going to change everything. Oh, the more that I think about this, okay, I'm reading this for the first time. Sorry, y'all, but it's not good. There we go. It's not good. If they change that, it's going to change. It's going to backdate. What's it called? It's going to move back all of the other work that we put in place from not from in 2010 and 2011, 2012, as far as making sure people can afford their homes. Right now, we've got mortgage brokers already doing subprime lending where they are working with people that are not fiscally savvy. This was Warren Buffett's mortgage company. They just got dinged by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, but now with the since they have weakened it, the CFPB stopped the lawsuit. Let me tell you what I'm talking about, because this is too much. It's just coming into my head. Y'all got to stick with me. Hold on a second. So CFPB. I've already lived this. I don't want to live it again. CFPB. Uh, yeah, right here. This happened this year. I remember reading this. Hold on, let me move this one out. So when I read that, I see this. So this is what I remember from like when I was doing loans back in 2006 and 2007. So the CFPB got Berkshire Hathaway owned mortgage lender for alleged predatory practices. So it's already starting. The CFPB caught it. They were going to fine Vanderbilt Mortgage because what they were doing is they were not Vanderbilt Mortgage closed a lot of mortgages, put a lot of people into homes. I think this was a mobile home park, manufactured home. Vanderbilt Mortgage knowingly trapped people in risky loans in order to close the deal on selling manufactured homes. Right here, that's subprime lending. That's predatory lending. It wasn't about making sure that people could afford the home. It was making sure they closed the deal. Why do they want to close the deal? So they can make the commission. So what they found when the CFPB went and investigated Vanderbilt Mortgage, all those people were going into foreclosure because they couldn't afford the homes, because they never verified their income. They didn't do the debt ratio calculations correctly, and they just helped those people get into those homes. When those payments started kicking in, the people couldn't afford to stay. Vanderbilt Mortgage underwriting process exceeded the legal requirements for assessing a borrower's ability to repay loans by considering both monthly debt to income ratio and residential and residual income. Vanderbilt Mortgage goes further by taking the greater of the borrower's actual reported expenses or an estimated living expense for the family, similar to that used by the federal VA loan program. Basically, in 2025, 2024, we're already seeing that I can go through all of that, but it's basically they did not verify all the debts. They didn't verify all the liabilities. They didn't ensure that somebody could afford to purchase a home with all those debts and liabilities and the new mortgage payment. And those people went into foreclosure. The CFPB said, okay, well, we're going to have you, we're gonna fine you. We're gonna hold you to the thing of the law and all these things. And then after the CFPB got weakened, they rescinded the lawsuit. But it's already happening, and that means it's going to happen more because they're saying they want to roll back Reg Z, which is how much can you charge. It's going to get ugly out here. I just don't understand why we want to go back when we know it didn't help. We had 800 banks go out of business in 2007, 8, 9. We had 800 banks and mortgage companies go out of business. We had millions of people lose their homes into foreclosure. Section 203, small dollar mortgage points and fees. Oh, well, okay, here we go. Directs the CFPB in consultation with HUD and the Federal Housing Finance Agency to revise CFPB regulations to encourage lending to borrowers seeking small dollar loans under $70,000. This is not what you need. This is not going to work. This is why you don't put a football player over affordable housing. I swear to God, this is not how it works. Having the having the FHFA work to revise regulations is not going to help banks or brokers do these loans. Unless unless people are just going to get charged up the wazoo. Okay, keep going. Title 3, increasing access to housing. Authorization to, of, oh my, wait, Section 301, authorization of moving to work program fully authorizes the MTW program and requires evaluation of housing reforms undertaken by MTW participants to identify replicable program models to improve cost efficiency and outcomes for families in HUD assisted housing. I like that because that's what my contract is under. Interesting. I got to check into that. But see, this program, I got lucky with this program. All 50 states don't have this program. It's only given to select housing commissions. I need to now go. I know the one that I'm in is in a high income area. I'm going to have to go look at these other ones. I wonder why they did that. Okay, number 302, promoting self-sufficiency. Directs HUD to study the impact of work requirement for HUD assistant residents served by the Public Housing Authority as part of the Moving to Work program, but only after determining that enough applicants to MTW would be interested in implementing work requirements as a policy so that a rigorous evaluation could be conducted and no low-income families would be negatively impacted. Directs HUD to study the impact of work requirements for HUD assistant residents served by public housing authorities as part of the Moving to Work program, but only after determining that enough applicants to MTW would be interested in implementing work requirements as a policy so that a rigorous evaluation could be conducted and no low-income families will be negatively impacted. Ooh, I knew that was going to happen. That's interesting. Promoting self-sufficiency is a great program. So yeah, I can see that. It's interesting. I gotta go look more into that one. Definition of manufactured home updates the definition of a manufactured home, which is limited to structures that are built on a permanent chassis, to include the other module or prefabricated housing by striking the limitation. To ensure states' definitions align with the updated federal definition, states will certify to HUD that their laws and regulations treat manufactured homes built without a permanent, in parity with such homes built on permanent chassis before allowing the manufacture, installation, or sale of manufactured homes with a permanent chassis. Direct HUD to provide model guide. Okay, that's cool. Homelessness reforms authorize HUD to pay for success. Authorize HUD to pay for success with a 10% set aside of funds made available for grantees of the Continuum of Care and Emergency Solutions grant programs if they can measurably improve outcomes for the homeless individuals served by these programs. As I don't like the competition in that. So COCs, Continuum of Care, are the organizations that are geographically located that contain that collect all of the like HUD dollars for certain programming, like homelessness, permanent supportive housing, different types of programs for social justice, for making sure veterans are taken care of, things like that, and housing, making sure that these places are able to get housed. Also takes care a lot of things around homelessness. I've worked with the COC a few times. I don't like the competition part in there because the people that need this help, if they can measurably improve outcomes for the homeless people are so different, especially if they choose to be homeless, that again, if you haven't worked in this industry, you can't say stuff like that, because some people don't want their outcomes improved. Some people just want to be housed during the cold months. Some people just want to be housed for a short time. Some people want to be off the grid. So we can't rehabilitate homeless people. We cannot rehabilitate them all. We can't rehabilitate homeless people that don't desire to be housed. Like they don't want to get back into the society where they work. Like they will tell you this. I don't want a job. I don't want bills. I don't want a bank. I don't want that. They have decided to be off the grid. So that's not cool. You got to work in this industry before you make rules in this industry. That is one of the biggest things that we always talk about. You can't make these decisions for people's lives if you don't understand the mentality of these people. Like these people have been through something, they have gone through stuff. Title 4, 401, homelessness reforms. Authorize HUD to pay for success with the 10% set aside of funds made available for grantees of the, oh, I just read this one. If they can measurably promoting opportunity, 501 opportunity zone priority. This did not work last time. Trump lies out the side of his neck. Opportunity zones did not work. Opportunity zones created a shell for the billionaires and millionaires to hide their money for tax purposes. But opportunity zones did not work because millionaires and billionaires did not want to build in the areas where the opportunity zones were located. They just wanted the tax shelter. Requires HUD to prioritize awarding of competitive grants relating to the construction or preservation of housing to recipients located in or that primarily serve communities designated as opportunity zones. So opportunity zones are areas that are in low-income communities that Trump designated. He created the opportunity zone when he was in office the last time. And what he said was opportunity zones are going to be great because it's going to bring in investments from the rich to the communities of the poor. So the rich people would be able to have their monies put into a tax shelter. We would use those monies to develop a business of, it's still their money, a business that they were aware of or partner with or whatever they wanted to do, or some kind of development to improve these communities that were low income or that were, at-risk communities. And you can already see that's not going to work. When people have millions and millions of dollars, this is their private money. This isn't like it's tax credits or as a government grant or as a federal grant. This is like Warren Buffett saying, I want to put $5 billion into the worst area of the city of Detroit. Now, either you're going to say you're going to gentrify it and just say your shit up front, which in the worst area of Detroit, you're not gentrifying that. That would take 40 years because nobody wants to move there right away in the worst area of Detroit, right? But the other side of it is Warren Buffett's not going to want to dump $5 billion into the worst area of Detroit. Because what are you going to create? And that's why it didn't work. When the rich people started seeing where the developments needed to go, they backed out. So we didn't get new developments. The only thing we did get were a bunch of self-storage spaces. So if you live in an area where all of a sudden you saw a lot of self-storage, those places where you can store stuff, self-store, that's a lot of opportunity zone money. That's kind of where that was kind of like the compromise that they would go into cities and they would say, that was one of the, we got a lot of self-storage spaces. Other than that, they didn't build new houses. They didn't build restaurants. They didn't build businesses. They didn't build retail. They didn't build strip malls. They didn't build up the community because they didn't feel confident in putting large dollar investments into low income communities. It didn't work then. It's not going to work now. And Trump always tells the lies that, but this helped so many communities, and it didn't. We couldn't get anything approved. It just didn't work. Good governance, annual testimony. HUD requires the HUD secretary to testify before Congress annually on the status of all programs carried out by the department and requires annual testimony. Updates of requirement of FHA mortgage review board, make annual recommendations. 602 FHA reporting requires frequent monthly reporting to Congress by HUD on the strength of FHA's mutual mortgage insurance fund, which under current law must maintain sufficient capital reserves, a capital ratio above 2%. The provision further requires HUD to notify Congress. FHA reporting. Okay, whatever. We don't. Requires FHA annual reporting as annual independence for purpose of FHA currently represents first-time home buyer as a borrower who has not owned a home in the last 3 years. Directs the GAO to study that recommend to Congress whether FHA should set parameters and define sustainable home ownership that considers how borrowers fare with FHA insured loans, including whether they default, refinance into a conventional loan, return to renting, and other factors that may measure how FHA successfully serves its intended borrowers, including first-time homebuyers, as redefined in this section. Interesting. Will be defined as a borrower whose credit report does not indicate the borrower has or had. How many true first-time home buyers are served? That's not good. So when I first started doing loans, FHA loan was only for a first-time home buyer. That was what it was. First-time home buyer, first time you ever bought a house. Oh, probably 10 years into doing loans, they redefined what a first-time home buyer was. So a first-time home buyer was somebody that hadn't bought a house in 3 years. So that means if you bought a house, you sold it, you were a wife that was getting a divorce. This is where I saw it come into play the most, right? That might be why they're against it, because the conservatives. But the most times I had to use the newer rule. I think Obama changed the rule, where a first-time home buyer was defined as somebody that didn't have an ownership interest in a property for at least the last 3 years. It was a lot of people getting divorced, coming off a title, and not having an ownership interest in 3 years. Or it was a lot of people that were getting divorced, but the spouse bought the house and they didn't. So if they needed to get another house, now they could. Like, it's a helpful tool. It's a helpful tool because redefining a first-time home buyer as somebody that hasn't bought a house in the last 3 years allows somebody that has had to rebuild themselves from, maybe they went through something. A lot of times as a lender, I would see people that have gone through cancer. I've seen people been in a coma, come out the coma. You have to rebuild your entire life. So not owning a home in the last 3 years was helpful because a first-time home buyer qualifies for down payment assistance, closing costs grants. They qualify for lower rates. They qualify for, less aggressive underwriting restrictions in the process to buy a home. So it was very helpful when they made it a first-time home buyer is somebody that hasn't bought a house in the last 3 years. Changing that around now to say they might redefine it as somebody that has never bought a house or whose credit report does not indicate the borrower has ever had a loan for residential. That's not cool. Because I might have bought a house 15 years ago, fell on some hard times, lost the house to foreclosure, got myself together, and now I want to buy a house again. But getting myself together doesn't mean I got everything. I might need some money to put down or something. I don't like it. United States Interagency Council on Homelessness requires annual testimony. NeighborWorks. NeighborWorks is a joke. I feel like NeighborWorks is what's those things called? This ain't about my opinion. Never mind. NeighborWorks authorized HUD Office Inspector General to carry out independent oversight of NeighborWorks and clarifies that NeighborWorks is a government corporation whose employees may seek whistleblower protections. I don't even know what he said. Okay. So anyways, NeighborWorks to me is a joke. If you've heard of NeighborWorks, check them out. If you got a NeighborWorks in your area, go pay attention to what they do. I don't see them doing nothing. What am I doing? Joke. Privatizes the plan, which no investor will take part in this agency. Right, Ramona, which in turn will validate the reason to close the department. I'm having such a hard time wrapping my brain around how people think. I just always do too, I just don't get how people think like this and why they want to destroy stuff. Like, I don't know. Anyways, don't make me cry. Okay, I'm not gonna read the comments. Okay, so let's look at what like, it's crazy. So let's look at what some of the advocacy groups are saying. House Republicans release year-long stopgap. No, that's another one. That's gonna be a different video. Hold on. I just don't understand. I don't understand people that don't like to help. I don't know. COC. Oh, so I did find this out while I was researching all of the information so I could talk to you guys about it. What was this? That they still are holding up the money this year that they already approved and committed for all of the nonprofit agencies that support homelessness and fund and housing. This is the continuing notice of funding. This is the one. So 25 grants is $3.6 billion being held up, right? The continuum of care builds. The notice of funding opportunity went out last year. So this is last year's money that has already been approved, that has already been designated to 25 entities, I think. It's $3.6 billion. Let me find the one that showed. I'll try to. Where is it? HUD cuts will make it harder. So this is the advocacy group right here. So this is what they, after they heard what Scott had to say, this is what they're saying. These driven HUD cuts will make it harder for people to afford housing, exit homelessness. So, of course, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the HUD department has already created a small Dodge department within HUD. And so from his changes that he wants to do, the Road to Housing Act, these solvable problems. Housing choice vouchers are similar to rental assistance, sharply reduce housing instability and overcrowding research, and rental assistance combines with supportive services when needed is the most effective policy for reducing homelessness. So they want to take housing, today 1 in 4 households in need receives rental assistance due to funding limitations, and wait lists for assistance are long almost everywhere. I know of one wait list that's 5 years long. So policymakers should be seeking to expand this highly effective assistance to reach everyone in need. This is the most successful program. Whether they like it or not, it is the most successful program, the Housing Choice Voucher, Section 8, and subsidized housing. But it helps people become housed and off the street. Like here it says in January 2024, 770,000 people across this country were homeless, couldn't afford housing at all, and were forced to live in shelters, cars, tents, and other unsafe, stable conditions. Right? Elon Musk and Dodge have reportedly called for discharging at least half of the HUD staff, which I don't know if they did it already, but they're about to. Sometimes using this tactic may be illegal. Specifically, the proposal will cut 50% of the staff at the HUD office that administers the vouchers and Native Americans housing programs, which help together 7 million people get affordable housing. 44% in the office that oversee the project-based rental assistance program, which provides rental assistance to an additional 2 million people. 84% of the office that administers homelessness assistance and grants that could help continue build affordable housing and recover from disasters. 77% of the office that enforces fair housing laws, one of the series of administration actions that will severely weaken protections for people who face housing discrimination based on characteristics such as race, gender, and age. Staff in these offices play a critical role in ensuring that tens of billions of dollars of badly needed federal funds are distributed properly and efficiently. Layoffs on the scale that Dodge is seeking will lead to delays, waste, resulting in communities around the country getting less help to address urgent needs. We have seniors in there. We have disabled in there. Meanwhile, here it is. Meanwhile, HUD has yet to deliver any of the $3.6 billion in homelessness assistance funding that was awarded January 17th this year from the NOFA that went out last year, which communities are counting on to provide rental assistance, shelter, outreach, and other services to people experiencing homelessness. While HUD notified at least some grantees that they will begin to receive funds soon, the uncertainty has disrupted community planning efforts, and the final awards may include abrupt policy changes that could complicate implementation. Finally, HUD officials have proposed or discussed a series of policy changes that would make it harder for many people in need to receive housing assistance. It's not an easy process. It's not an easy process. I've been working with them for the last few years. I mean, I worked with them my entire career, but very closely. It's not an easy process. And the thing that's happening now is people are being relocated all the time. They're increasing the rent, or the landlords are putting them out, and they have to go move. Then they have to go move. People are losing all their stuff. These are single moms with kids, single dads with kids, families trying to make it, and they're being forced to move every 6 to 12 months because of landlord issues or whatever the landlord wants to do. They're losing, every time you move, you lose stuff. So it's just not an easy process right now to get approved for housing choice voucher. And it's not easy to stay in these properties. HUD officials has also called for evicting or cutting off rental assistance for people who don't meet burdensome work requirements, a step that would increase administrative costs and expose many children, people with serious health conditions, or caretaking responsibilities, and others for severe hardship. And they don't understand the people this is about to impact don't look like me. They don't look like me. I just hope people know what they voted for. And this kills me. Rather than squandering resources on costly tax cuts for the wealthy, policymakers should be expanding effective programs toward, you're right, they shouldn't be cutting costly They shouldn't be cutting taxes for the wealthy. Oh, Scott Turner. Vows to fight cumbersome regulations in one of his first speeches since assuming the role. Turner also pointed to expanding initiatives such as the Qualified Opportunity Zone program, which the National Association of Realtors supports to help revitalize distressed communities and unleash the power of the private sector and the free market so that we can build our way out of the housing affordability crisis. Then that's going to be gentrification, because opportunity zones are the poorest communities. Turner has announced that HUD will launch a department. Yeah, I got that. National Association of Realtors is working with Turner to make sure any HUD cuts don't impede fair housing efforts or consumers' ability to buy and sell homes. One of the focus areas of the relationship will be how National Association of Realtors and HUD can work together to support the proposed Yes in My Backyard Act, which encourages state and local governments to remove barriers to housing development and implement pro-growth policies. Passage of the bill, which is top advocacy priority for NAR, would open more opportunities for the construction of affordable housing. Yes in my backyard versus not in my backyard. That's cool if they can get him to do it. If they can get him to do it. Okay, let's look. All right. I like some of them. I know that it's going to make it harder. What happens is, so what is actually happening though is he is cutting the monies. So when the budget should have gone up a lot in order to make sure that they're continuing to keep people housed, the monies that he cut in the budget is not enough. There's not going to be enough money in order to make sure that all of the programs remain. But we know this, I guess. We know this. It's just the same old story. So, House Republicans release year long. So yeah, that's the update for HUD. Scott was in there yesterday giving his update of what he wanted to do. This is what he came up with. It's going to impact a lot of people, a large demographic of people. And it's not going to be nice. What is this one? Republicans seek to what? Oh, no, that's another video too. So, okay, that's my update. Y'all got any questions? How y'all doing today? It's a lot going on. I'm going to talk about small businesses in a minute. I do want to talk about that. I do want to see what this judge is talking to Elon Musk about. So a judge has finally, a judge ruled that Elon Musk must bring his butt to court. He must come to court, Musk, and testify. About Dodge's work, right? So a funny thing has happened. The Musk, have you guys seen the Musk, what is it called? Musk, the Musk ratings? Musk work? Somebody created a tracker, the Musk tracker. Let me see if that's what it is. I like that. Introducing the Must Watch. Okay, let me show you guys this. I like this. I just found this. Did you guys hear about this? Okay, hold on a second. So, Judd Legume created, I found this yesterday. So, he created the Musk Watch Dodge Tracker. New tool reveals Musk has overstated verified Dodge savings by at least 92%. We know that. I know that because we haven't seen any money go back to the Treasury, which is what they're saying that they wanted to do. I want to blow this site up. Let's everybody. Let me see. I want y'all to go to this. I want us to watch this. I want him to know we're tracking him. Let me put this on here. Here, this is the link. Can you guys see that? Can I talk in here? This is the link. I want to share it with everybody. This tracker shows what he's doing. So Elon Musk claims that the U.S. Dodge Service, a small group of Musk associates embedded in virtually every department of the federal government, has already saved taxpayers $100 billion. In an appearance on Fox Business, Musk claimed he was saving $4 billion per day and was on track to cut $1 trillion from the federal budget. Is that true? Musk claims to operate with unprecedented transparency and has posted receipts for the savings on Dodge.gov. This is his idea of a report. That's it, right? That's not a report. Anyways, most of the purported savings, however, are not backed up with any details or documentation. In other cases, Dodge has provided documentation, but the documents reveal that Dodge has grossly overstated the potential savings to taxpayers. It is important to get this out. That's why they launched the Musk Watch Dodge Tracker. The Musk Watch Dodge Tracker allows anyone to easily cut through the spin about Dodge and see how much savings can be verified. Because the whole premise of this is that he's saving the Americans money, and they're going to apply it to the deficit, right? They're not giving it to the rich. They say, no, we're not giving the savings to the rich. We're going to apply it to the deficit and pay down our debt. So Dodge claims total savings of $105 billion. This is just the number at the top of the Dodge website. It is the number used by Musk and Trump in media appearances, and too often is uncritically repeated in the media. As of March 12th, Dodge claims $105 billion in total savings. There is no relationship between this number and the actual data on the rest of the website. So this includes the total amount of claimed savings. This category also the total Dodge itemized savings is currently at $29.9 billion. So it's not at $105 billion. The lack of information means these savings cannot be verified. This category also includes the claimed savings for all canceled contracts, even though these savings are frequently inflated. Details on how Dodge inflates the value of canceled contracts in the next section. The total claimed savings from contracts is about $14.9 billion. Dodge itemized savings to include $468 million in claimed real estate savings from canceled leases. So I want to look at Dodge takes away potential award amount. Wait, the Dodge must watch tracker. This is great. So Dodge claim. So up here is what he claims. Up here is the itemized cuts. And here is verifiable canceled funding. So he claims he's saved so far $105 billion. The itemized cuts actually come out to $29.9 billion. The verified canceled funding is $8.6 billion. So he's nowhere near what he says he's doing. I'm so glad somebody did that. I'm so glad Lagoon made this tracker. This is genius. And it's going to piss him off. And I love that too. I love that for him. So overstated. They even went in and found the overstated awards. So he overstated $1.9 billion from the IRS. $244 million was overstated from the Agency for International Development, Department of Veterans Affairs. So yeah. So this, if you're interested, for me, I'm going to be checking it out. I can update y'all from time to time. Oh, here's a big one. Agency for International Development was $19 million. So, it even breaks it down. Dodge estimated savings of $43 million, terminated funding of $23 million, overstated savings of $19 million. USAID revenue and expenditure governance reforms operationalized activity. Click for links. So this goes in and it shows you what he actually did. All of these down here are overstated. So it goes in and tells you what he actually did, what it was for, where it was supposed to go to, what department it came from. So I love this. I love this for him. Data analysis and dashboard by Brian Banks. I'm open to work. Find me. So he need a job too. Brian, you did good stuff here. So wanted to share that with you guys too. So, and yeah, total joke. Privatizes the plan with no investor. So we're going to see how all this pans out. I want to talk about small business and how they're letting them down too, and keep looking at all this stuff. But I definitely want to see what the judge is going to do. I'm going to see what that lawsuit looks like. I want Elon Musk to answer these questions, and I want y'all to have a great day. All right, my name is Lisa Davis. I am the Trusted Banker, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye. Have a good day, y'all. Thanks for hanging out with me.